But the second thing I feel like we lack in this part of the world is a mentality that my wealth is too much.
Life begins at 40. It's a statement I've pondered over.
These jobs may not actually hold us until we are 60 because of the disruption that technology brings.
I want to, before I get to the 50 to above 60, is the 40 to 50.
Okay.
I wanted to touch on that. And somebody said, life begins at 40. It's a statement I've pondered over. And I always say, believe, it is because at 40, you are expected to have tightened your economic belt in order to secure your lifestyle, secure your big disruptors of life. If you follow the natural path or the life cycle of a human being, at around 40 is when you are most likely to have secured your lifestyle and those big disruptors. And now, what that does, it gives you what we call the true financial freedom. You really don't need to show up at work for you to pay your bills. Your kids will go to school and all that. And you move to the next stage, which we call aspirational portfolio. So now, this is where now you get to step up your lifestyle. You are living in this neighborhood. You are now like, no, I actually can live in a better neighborhood. You are driving this Toyota car. Now you feel I have earned the rights to earn a better car. I'm a big proponent of enjoying life. You can't... I don't believe God wanted us to pass through life and it is just painful. He said, I came so that I give you life and have life in abundance. It also is with the abundance with which we live. So you have earned the right to do that. So that's one thing, you upgrade your life. The other part of it is you quickly realize that you are not just satisfying your own needs. It can never make you happy. You can have all the cars, but you can only drive one at a time. So you get the anticlimax of wealth accumulation, which now propels you to the other part of aspiration, which is a philanthropic portfolio. Where you say, and I remember I was driving at some point some years ago, and I got near City Hall, and I had this question pop in my head. If everything I have given you, it's like God was speaking, if everything I've given you came to a standstill today, what would people remember you for? And, it completely shifted my mind, So what impact will you leave behind? What are the things that you're doing way and beyond your children, your family, and you start thinking, I remember as a family, we start thinking, hey, we need to start a library in some remote places, take electricity to some remote places. Those kind of things that you benefit nothing personally. So I've also had an opportunity working with some clients who say, I am passionate about young people and their ideas. Because they have no one to finance them, I would want to dedicate my portfolio. Whatever comes out of my portfolio, it goes to fund at least 10 ideas in a year. And it's such a noble objective. And I've seen that transform people completely and give them a new meaning. So that's where, in your 40 to 50, I feel that's where now these things starts happening.
I know you want to conclude. Just a comment to anchor on that, actually. While we are talking about, the conversation was about 60 and above, what I want to remind us now, especially because of tech and the play of tech and the changing working environment, because, again, we established we were raised and schooled to have careers. And so for those of us who are over 30, it is possible that we are still riding the career growth aspect, looking to retire at 60, which is the legal age. The reality is this: these jobs may not actually hold us until we are 60 because of the disruption that technology brings. And so then, which means that the concepts which are being spoken about now, and which will be spoken about as we go more into financial literacy, people need to grasp them sooner and run with them as though their life depends on it, because really our lives depend on these concepts. Because, well, 60 is actually now a luxury in terms of being actively in earning, in employment, and in all of that. So being ready, even though the system pushes us out sooner, being ready to actually sustain ourselves even before we are 50. And that's how I would look at it, as the journey to 60.
And thank you for bringing that up, because we actually address both people who are running their own businesses, and as well as the same people who are employed. Because even running your own business, you're just as good as employed. If you cannot, you're not independent of that business. So you need to retire yourself too from your own business, so that you can be able to do those things that you love to do. So these are now things that you need to do even as you are enjoying your life. In your 60s now, the key thing here is legacy. You have to answer two questions. Who will inherit you, and how will they inherit you? We have been given this doctrine that we bequeath our children when we are dead. But it needs to happen when we are alive. You get? So in your 60s, you need to answer these two questions. And I say this with experience. Two things that have shocked me in my career. Seeing people in their 80s who have run successful empires, and they tell me, Pius, my children are not capable of running what I have been doing for the last so many years. Or my children are completely disinterested with what I have been doing. They want to do other things. So it's painful to see an 80-year-old having to wake up in the morning, endure the traffic, and go and man the thing that has been keeping him busy. And because there is no one else to take care of it. So we need now to arrange these things. How do we transfer wealth to the generations that come after that, which we can talk about trust and other things on 27.
On the 27.
On the 27.
And maybe also to add, I think there's the whole bequeathing to your children, which I completely agree needs to be done earlier. And I think a lot of parents are living, because we almost have this sense of, if I talk inheritance, it's like I'm cursing myself. The reality is you will die, and the day of your death will happen. Talking about it will not bring it about earlier. So preparing your children and your family, starting to work with them and mentor them is important. But the second thing I feel like we lack in this part of the world is a mentality that my wealth is too much for my pockets. God doesn't want to bless you for your pockets. You leave 1 billion shillings, like we've seen billionaires here, for your children. What are you doing? You know, there's a way that can actually become a curse to them. I mean, I won't work if my father left me 1 billion. So there's also the sense where we have to have causes. I mean, one of the things that I mourn is I say we don't have Ford foundations here. We don't have Rockefeller foundations. And yet we have Fords and Rockefellers in our economy. So we need to become that generation that says, what's my cause? Is it a school? I want a school named after me in my village. I want a well-digging company I want a foundation for trust that me and my wife can be named after us, or it can be named after my child. And that's the big thing. So I leave them the portion that I think they need, that will not destroy their lives. And then maybe I leave them an opportunity to be a trustee in something that is adding value. So I'm also leaving them a chance to have a legacy of their own. That's a mentality we need to start inculcating. and something that we've been teaching and also trying to practice in our own lives.
I think there's a family we know where the man did not leave wealth, did not divide the money or the company or whatever, but he set up a trust for education for any children born in that home. And I think it's into perpetuity to whatever level that you want to get to. But then the kids have to work. I mean, now he's grown kids. You have to build your own things, but at least the grandfather ensured that his grandchildren would be educated. Yeah. And the truth is that the money that we leave our children sometimes is not always a blessing, especially when we have not walked with them in a certain way. And even if it were a blessing, let them sweat. I mean, again, that scarcity thing is not a bad thing.
I think that's what I wanted to add. Yeah. That if you have a lot of wealth and your children have not walked along with you for accumulation purposes, then even leaving to them, it will not adapt to anything. That's the biggest challenge we have with ourselves. And I have done a lot of study in that area as far as Africans are concerned in this country. Nobody can tell very few their children, I walked from A to B to C, or walked with them to get where I am. So as I live with this, it is hard work. But the moment you just say it's real, and we need to work with them.
See, something that is reminded me, the best inheritance you can leave to your children and whoever else you'd want to benefit from your wealth is cash flows, not assets.
Yeah.
A lot of people leave assets which are cash poor. And what the generations have to deal with is liquidating the very thing that you are protecting. So that's one of the things I've seen. If you separate cash flows from assets, then you are able to have professionals managing the assets and the cash flows going to the beneficiaries. And that allows your children and whoever else want to be a beneficiary to pursue their own purposes, their own divine assignments, because they're not necessarily going to be pastors or advisors like us. Yeah.
So we wrap it up now. Over 60s, you see it's getting richer and richer, but more to be discussed on the 27th of April when we come for the summit. So let me just wrap this up. At that point, you're looking for a purpose-driven life. A life lived for other people is a life well lived. Have a plan. And you have to have that plan for your 60s earlier than the 60s. So those HR programs that have, you're just about to retire, come, let's go for a workshop, should actually start when you get employed, not at the end. See a wealth advisor. Yeah? Annual financial checkup. Just like the same way we have the medical checkup, maybe that's time for it now. I love these two portfolios, the aspirational portfolio and the philanthropic portfolio, right? You start moving to much more qualitative kind of living and decision making, and just how you show up is different. Not the defense, going for cruises and stuff, So we moved on from the defensive mode that we had in our 30s and 40s, and now it's different. You start feeling it, as long as it was planned well. 2 questions to ask. Who will inherit you and how will they inherit you? Okay? How does this transfer of wealth start happening? When do you start bequeathing your children? That's the conversation, and that conversation on its own is going to be one whole masterclass during the month of April. And lastly, the best inheritance to leave your children is not the assets, but the cash flow. So with that, we wrap it up now. Thank you so much for this discussion. It has been rich. And I look forward to all of you who are, I know we are all going to be having more conversations in the month of April, either physically or online. But we can't wait for this month. In fact, April can't come sooner now, right? Thank you so much and have a good evening. Wow, what an amazing conversation here today. And so much more is going to follow in the month of April. So, see you all in the month of April at
the Financial Literacy Summit.